What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got all of the new leaders from OP-05. Annoyingly, as I record this, and I'm very much hoping it will change between recording and uploading, but as I record this, we still don't have the booster pack artwork for OP-05. Unless I'm being super dumb and I've just missed it. Wouldn't be the first time. We don't have the booster pack artwork, which is really annoying to me, but we do have all of the leaders. Now, of the 6 leaders, we have 3 of the alternate arts. We don't have all of them yet, but we do have all of the leaders, so we can go and have a look at all 6 of the leaders, which are going to be coming around in Protagonist of the New Generation. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit excited. I am a little bit excited. So let's start off with the one which I think has caused the most discussion so far. It's Eneru. Eneru is a very cool card. It is a very fun leader. And it is one that I know, it's a character that a lot of people wanted to see transposed into the game. But it's also one that I think a lot of people are a little bit excited about now that it is actually coming. So what we've got with Eneru is 5,000 power, 4 life, which is unusual because it's a monocolor leader. They generally have 5 life. And on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when your life reaches 0, you may add the top card of your deck to your life and then discard a card from your hand. And that's basically why the 4 life doesn't really worry anybody. Because the fact of the matter is, until you get down to no life, this is just a vanilla 5,000 power monocolor leader. It's not exactly some kind of ridiculously stunning card until we get down to that point, at which case everything becomes way, way more interesting. And that's awesome. Now, this one is really kind of simple. It is just a case of you're trying to stay alive. This is the kind of leader where what you're trying to do here is essentially save this skill for when you really need it. So you're going to have a bunch of blockers, you're going to have some countering, and then, because the thing is, when you get down to 0 life, you get a new life. But it's only once per turn, so if your opponent can do that multiple times, then they're going to be able to just bypass your skill. Your goal here is to be able to counter block, etc. enough, and then there's one time during a turn where you're not able to do that. That's okay. You are sorted. And of course, let's not forget that all you need to do is try and accurately predict where your opponent's turn is going, and then just once a turn, you get to essentially just let an attack through, you regain your life, job's a good un. And there's 2 extra things to note here. First of all, it means that essentially you've got, in essence, kind of like an extra blocker every single turn, because you let an attack through, but it doesn't actually take a life. And secondly, you can be playing around with a lot of cards with trigger, because this leader is going to end up putting a lot more cards down on top of your life, which means you are more likely to hit those cards with trigger, and that is going to be awesome. Now, the most recently revealed one is your Donquixote Rosinante. Now, we looked at this the other day. I got very excited. I still, and I want to make this nice and clear, I still think this is a very, very, very good leader, don't get me wrong. But I don't think I've had a good think about this one since we chatted the other day. I don't think we're talking best case scenario. What we've got is a 5,000 power dual color green and blue leader, and you've got blocker. Now, the question I had was what happens if a block goes through? I.e. if you block, but with less power than the attack. Obviously, a blocking character is KO'd, that's easy. What about a leader? The more I think about it, the more I think and there will be a ruling. When this set comes out and the FAQ is published, there will be a ruling on this. I'm 100% certain about that. But the more I think about it, the more I think it's almost inevitable at this stage that it's just going to be, if the attack goes through, you lose a life. It would be absolutely broken, but it'd be amazing if an attack goes through, well, it's fine, it doesn't take a life. I don't think that's realistic, unfortunately. But essentially, it allows you to move an attack from one of your characters to your leader, and then counter up a little bit. And of course, let's not forget you've got things like Baby 5, who searches out one of your Don Quixote pirates every turn, but is very, very weak. This is a way to protect it, or indeed any of your other characters. And the last one for which we have currently seen the alternate art is your Luffy. Yeah, we've had a few Luffy, there's another Luffy. Mono purple, 5,000 power, 5 life, activate main once per turn. You may put the top card of your life into your hand, and then if the amount of Don on your field is either 0 or 3 or more, add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck as active. Basically, it allows you to swap a life card for a Don card for basically occasional super aggressive turns. If anybody's wondering why it has to be 0 or 3 or more, i.e. not 1 or 2, it's to stop you using this skill turn 1 to have too many Don too early in the game and kind of create an unfair advantage at the start. If you go first, turn 1 you'll have 1 Don. If you go second, turn 1 you'll have 2 Don. After that, you're good to go. It's just to stop using it turn 1. Although remember, purple do love shuffling Don back into the Don deck, the Don minor skills. So there might be times if you're using Don minor skills, this does come back to bite ya. I'm not entirely convinced about this one as of yet. But, I don't know. It could be fun, ladies and gentlemen. It could be fun. There will be some aggressive turns with this, but giving up your life is going to be a little bit awkward. I'm certainly more excited about Donquixote Rosinante and Eneru than I am about Luffy, but this is still one that I've got my eye on, and I think there are going to be some people that do some very interesting things with this. Now, Bello Betty is coming along here as a red and yellow leader, dual colour of course, and this is the first time we've seen a dual colour red and yellow leader. And that means, you know, things like you can play the giant Edward Newgate from OP-02, as well as the giant Big Mum from OP-03, if that's the kind of thing you're into. Which I think sometimes that might be a pretty good idea, honestly. Those are very, very powerful cards. So what we've got here in terms of a skill, obviously 4 life because dual colour. Activate main once per turn. You may discard a Revolutionary Army card from your hand to give 3 of your Revolutionary Army or trigger characters an extra 3,000 power. This is another one I have really got my eye on. This one looks really, really good. Now, obviously, there's going to be a bunch of red Revolutionary Army cards in the set. That shouldn't be a surprise. And we know yellow has more trigger than other characters. That's also relevant, incidentally, with Enel, because you're going to be, like I say, you're going to be having more cards going on top of your deck. So that's pretty cool, honestly. And this is one that I'm just loving. Boosting 3 of your characters by 3,000 is nuts. And doing that just for the cost of discarding 1 card from your hand, I think this could be a ridiculous aggro deck, which is also full of triggers. And I'll be honest with you, as excited as I am about Donquixote Rosinante and all the fancy blocking, the more I think about it, and I've been thinking about it a lot in preparation for making a video about all the leaders from the set, I think this might be my favourite leader from the set. And given that I finished the manga, I now actually know who she is. And that's a good thing. Now we are getting Sakazuki in this set coming through as a leader. 5,000 power, 4 life, and we've got a dual colour blue and black leader. Technically not the first blue and black leader we've had. We did, of course, have Rebecca in OP-04. But because Rebecca's skill literally just searches Dressrosa characters, I think it's fair to say that that's only for a Dressrosa deck. If you're playing a Dressrosa deck, yes, Rebecca is great. If you're not, this is essentially now your only option. And that's always really important when we get a new dual colour leader. Are there other options? So, for instance, when you're looking at Donquixote Rosinante, we have another blue-green leader. It's Sanji from OP-02. And there'll be one you like more than the other, but those are 2 genuine options where you can choose between if you want to go for a combination of those 2 colours. Here, we technically have another option, but we don't really have another option. And the skill here, Activate main once per turn, discard a card, draw a card. This is sneaky great because there are some things that want cards in your discard. Think the black Luffy from OP-04 that can restand if you put 7 cards on the bottom of your deck from your trash. Bearing in mind this can play it because Luffy is black and this is a black leader. And then, of course, you're drawing extra cards. You're cycling through your deck a little bit faster. This is very, very good. And then when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. That is the black part of this. Of course, one of the things that black decks do is reduce the cost of your opponent's characters. So this is going to do that very nicely while having a bit of draw power. I don't think this is a bad leader at all. But I look at Bello Betty and I'm like, oh, I love this. And I look at Rosinante and I'm like, I can really make use of this. And I look at this and I'm like, that's kind of cool. But I don't think it's on the same kind of level. And that means we can finish off with Sabo. Now, we've got a dual color red and black leader here. So once again, we have to go, well, hang on a second. Have we seen a red-black leader? Yes. We've seen Monkey the Garp, and for what it's worth, Monkey the Garp is a legitimate leader that's not specifically tied to a very specific deck, like Rebecca is. So yeah, you absolutely do have 2 options here. You can go Monkey the Garp, or you can go here. I will let you make that decision. But what we've got from Sabo here in terms of skill, obviously 5,000 power, 4 life, that's a given. Donquixote, on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when one of your characters with 5,000 or more power is KO'd, that character, instead of being KO'd, can just get -1,000 power. That's really good. Now, it is on your opponent's turn rather than on your turn. But if your opponent goes after one of your characters and you really don't want that character to get KO'd, you can just drop them by 1,000 power and then they actually survive and stay on the field, which is clearly absolutely ridiculous. Now, it is once per turn, so yes, your opponent absolutely will be able to just hit them again, but then you're forcing your opponent to hit them again. And I am absolutely okay with this. Any situation where my opponent is having to expend extra energy and resources just to try and KO a character seems like quite a bit of a win for me. Still not my favourite leader from the set, but you can absolutely see here, and it's very similar in a way to Donquixote Rosinante, in that it's a way to keep your characters on the field and alive, and I like this one very much indeed. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the 6 new leaders that are coming around in OP-05. For me personally, it is Bello Betty. That is the one I'm going to be building around. But I want to know what you think. I want to know what your favourite leader is. I want to know anything you want to tell me. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.